Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host on, welcome back to the Baseball Head 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. As you know, I'm a Mets fan, as you can tell, and whenever I can get to a chance to goof on other teams, I will take that chance. I'll take the risk and have a little fun. And when we see former players and great players do it, it is even just as funny. And obviously, one of the great players in the history of the Mets is Keith Hernandez. He's the greatest defensive first baseman in the history of the game. Should be in the Hall of Fame based upon that and based upon the fact that he won the MVP, won 2 World Series, was a real catalyst for 2 teams. All that added up should be a Hall of Fame career. This was the sum of the parts of the sums, or whatever the hell they call it. His game was that of a winning player. And winning should mean something when we get to the highest level. This guy's been on the mountain twice as a player. But be that as it may, when he talks about things, you take his opinion, not with a grain of salt, you take it serious. And obviously he's been a Mets commentator for 20 plus years. Obviously with Gary Cohen and Ron Darling, they've been together 20 years. But Keith has been a commentator for a long time, going back as the late 90s. And so when Keith speaks, you pay attention to certain things, and there is a major entertainment factor with Keith. You never know what he's going to say. You never know what he's going to do. And I guess he said this on a podcast. It's from Awful Announcer, and he's been very vocal about the Phillies. He does not like the Phillies. I think he kind of has the same attitude as David Wright has when it comes to talking about the Phillies, how hard he is on them. And Keith's not hard on any teams, really. Other than the Mets for the most part, but he always just rips into the Phillies whenever he gets a chance. Gets his little digs in on them. A few years ago, he said they were a bad defensive team. Now he said something really funny. From Awful Announcing, Keith Hernandez thinks the Phillies are quote-unquote overrated. The Phillies have lost 9 straight games, including the postseason at Citi Field. Keith Hernandez doesn't think much of the Philadelphia Phillies. The feeling's mutual. Mets broadcast, the latest jab came on the Mets pod with Connor Rogers and Joe DeMaio. Asked to describe the Phillies in one word, Hernandez didn't bother dressing it up. Overrated, he said. It's funny as hell. This isn't new from the former Mets first baseman. For Philadelphia's improbable 2022 World Series run, Hernandez openly said he was glad to be off a Phillies series, telling SNY executives he hated doing their games. They never seemed to disappoint, he said then. Over the years, and they're hot right now, but I would like to see them. As far as fundamentally, defensively, the Phillies have always been just, not up to it. I mean, Keith doesn't pull any punches when it comes to the Phillies. Philadelphia, of course, didn't go down without a fight. The Phillies went on to play in the World Series. The thing is, Hernandez wasn't entirely wrong. No, Keith isn't wrong about too many things when it comes to things defensively. When it comes to defensively and hitting, that guy is spot on. Spot on. The Phillies were a mess defensively early in 2022 before tightening things up. Alec Bohm stopped booting balls at third, Brandon Marsh stabilized center field, and smarter alignments helped them mask some flaws. By the time they were storming through October, Hernandez himself admitted they'd found out how to win. Quote, they started doing little things because they wanted to get to the World Series. He told MLB.com's Anthony DeComo they wanted the brass ring. But whatever goodwill was built clearly didn't stick. With the Mets having ripped off 9 straight wins against Philly at Citi Field, including Brandon's walk-off RBI single on Tuesday, Hernandez still sees Philadelphia as a little too proud of itself. I mean, Keith. Keith is a funny guy. He does not like Philly, obviously. I guess his attitude is pretty much the same as it is. And as for Hernandez, he's in no hurry to eat crow again. At least not until the Phillies finally figured out how to win in Queens. The thing is that, a couple of things. The Philadelphia Phillies team don't like the Mets either. Okay? 2 years ago when they beat the Braves in the postseason, they were screaming about the Mets in the clubhouse, which I thought was very bizarre considering the Mets had a terrible year in 2023. They had injuries to Scherzer and Verlander. Pete Alonso missed 2 weeks and basically did not have a good June. The Mets were terrible in June that year. So they were a non-factor throughout the whole season. From that point on, they dug themselves such a deep hole. But here we were hearing about their backup catcher, who's in the minor leagues now. I don't think he's coming back to the majors. Took on America's team, saying that always the Mets, always F the Mets. Well, the Mets weren't playing in the postseason. So when I see the comeuppance of the Phillies and their fans, it is amusing. Okay. Now last year I went to Philadelphia, watched the Mets just destroy the Phillies down in Citizens Bank Park. But I was smart enough not to wear any kind of Mets hat or Mets shirt that anyone could see, because I knew, being by myself, I was going to go with family. They were going to come, but they couldn't make it because they had to work that weekend. But I could not go by myself wearing a Mets hat like this or my Mets shirt, because I know I would have had a problem. And I didn't park too far from the ballpark, but I didn't want to take any chances. So I know, kind of have an idea of how that fan base is. So I know the fan base is not happy. I know the broadcasters are completely miserable about what's going on. And they try to make a scene that then they're above it all, but they complain more than the Met fans and the Met media does. It's funny to watch. And I would mention the most unprofessional broadcast is the Philadelphia Phillies broadcast, because whenever the Mets go down there, they always try to show Mets fans, in the stands, Mets fans, they look sad, they look like they're gonna cry, and they always show them when we get close to the end of the game. Like the Met fans are worried about a game. It's very bizarre. That usually happens. You usually show the team's fans on a home broadcast, not on the road, not the opposite. So it's a little bizarre that they try to get under the skin of the Met fans. What Met fans are listening to their broadcast or watching their broadcast? Nobody. I'm not watching, but I've seen it. I saw it like 4 years ago when we had the whole nonsense with the lockdown and the broadcast, being very limited. But this is funny because Keith doesn't pull any punches when he talks about these teams, especially defensively. And as a guy who's been around the block many, many times and seen a lot of teams. So thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2. I'll see you later.